really not paying that much attention against the aggro decks. It's probably because of the preparation, because they know their opponent, so they probably tune their deck list to, you know, have as good matchup as possible. And yeah, it paid him off. It paid off for him. So now he's in the semifinals. But as we said, the Justin has 3 aggro decks, so that's where he's gonna shine. Like obviously one is banned, but yeah, like if it would be last year's standing, I would say like it's kind of easy win for Justin. But here, like no one can tell. It will really depend on the pre-game. But yeah, we will be starting with Evenlog versus Rogue. In general, I felt about the Evenlog that it's not that great against the phase decks. Like it's good against the decks which are trying to make a big board because you have Hellfire, you have Defile, but if your opponent can smork a lot to face, then you might be in struggle because, you know, your life total isn't that high. So I would definitely favor Justin in this matchup.
I definitely agree, especially against aggressive rogue decks, I find, which have the use of now Sap and Valspine Slayer, which if you throw down a Hooked Reaver as a 7/7 or a Mountain Giant to try and fight back on board, it is going to be very easily dealt with by Just Saying. As he makes a very interesting mulligan choice there, where you're on the coin, so Edwin Van Cleef obviously makes a lot of sense. Myra's Unstable Element is generally the highest win rate card when you find it, as when you look at the mulligan win rate, so that makes sense as well. But Acidic Swamp Ooze, there's no weapons in the deck for Malagos, so he's keeping it here just as a 3/2.
Yeah, like it's probably very important to be, you know, tempo-oriented in this matchup, and you know, the Rogue doesn't have that many early drops, so it might be like a safe choice to get a 3/2. Because, you know, there are no 1/1s you can kill with the dagger in every turn, so it might be just better to drop a minion on the board.
That's a good point. I think, you know, sometimes as rogue players, you can get fooled into the mindset that hero power on 2 is always good, but it's only really against the tempo decks that you want to be going for dagger on 2, like you said. So saying here, curving out right at the start with a pretty respectable amount of pressure, and when both players are lowering Malagos' health total as quickly as possible. It's going to die pretty quick.
Yeah, Malagos is pretty good opener because he can play Doomster turn 2 while he can also play Giant turn 4. Like that's a big advantage of Evenlog because you can sneak in this 2-turn play compared, let's say, to Q-Block where you need to tap all the way if you want to play Giant turn 4.
And saying here in kind of an interesting spot where his hand doesn't do all that much at the moment, so this Doomsayer going off wouldn't be the worst thing ever. But he's saying here, because I have so little in my hand in terms of actual minion presence, I think he's feeling he needs to protect this Ooze just to get that damage through to face, because with a Myra's Unstable Element in hand, any early damage that you can get in is much more likely to get over the finish line later on.
Yeah, in general, you need to be really aggressive in this matchup, because if you give Warlock enough time, he can just set up like 2 big towns and the game is over. So I really like this play, and now I would expect to see kind of all in play, playing Van Cleef, Corsair, and probably the coin as well, just to buff the Edwin, but we will see.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because if you go Dread Corsair Edwin, it's obviously just a 4/4 instead of a 6/6. Your opponent hasn't damaged themselves yet, so they with cards, sorry. So the Spellstone would be only a 3 attack, not a 5 attack, which, you know, does mean that the 4/4 Edwin is more likely to be good enough. But saying here, saying, you know what, I'm just going to get the value out of the coin while I can. Dump cards out of my hand.
It's like double banana, so +2/+2 sign in. So now,
wait,
if the attack comes through, like there might be a tap +7/7, but still, like you need to deal the early damage, I guess. Like he's even threatening with lethal maybe, like in some scenarios.
So are you telling me that you, Stan Sifka, are in favor of the play that's basically double bananas?
Yeah,
you like that play? I wonder why.
Yeah. So what you do as Malagos, like there's really big amount of pressure. I don't think you can just, let's say, just slam under the Giant, because you would be dropping too low. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Spellbreaker on Edwin, or you can...
I mean, there's a lot of options on this turn. I'm looking at Spellstone on the Dread Corsair and then trade into the Edwin. You lose a lot of board control there, though.
You can also Hellfire and, you know, make the board empty.
That's true. You take 3 extra damage, but I guess you clear a little bit more stuff off, and upgrading the Spellstone, yeah, I think I like this more. It gives you, means you're more vulnerable right now, but your follow-up will be much more powerful.
So what now? I don't think you want a Leroy here, because it's, you know, just being traded after, so that's not what I like. So I guess it's gonna be just Agent on the board and attack with the dagger. Like the Shadow Blade is the other option, but I guess you kind of want to go on a board. You still not threaten with the lethal, because Leroy is one of the turn after, even if the taunt doesn't come down.
And then as for the one other option in the hand is Myra's Unstable Element, you kind of want to be going for that both when you have a few less cards in hand and also when you have a board already, so you're actually pushing face damage on that turn. I think passing up an entire turn of tempo might be a little bit too slow.
Yeah, I think it's too slow. You also just draw only 7 cards and you don't get any other cards. In the future, like, you most likely want to play Myra Element when you are out of gas completely, so I expect to see it like turn 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's been the power of it has been lowered a little bit in terms of immediate burst now that the Cold Blood nerf has come down. So on turn 6, he obviously couldn't go Myra's into Cold Blood all on the same turn.
Like, you can go Myra into Deckhand, but at the moment it's not going to be enough. So now there's an interesting decision, because if you play the Spellstone, you kill a minion, which you like, but on the other hand, you spend the whole turn with that. So
you can't just develop nothing on this turn, I think. You've got to start fighting back for board, especially as turn 7 is also going to be pretty weak before you get through to Bone Mare or a potential Lich King later on.
So now...
Ooh. So how much damage is actually available right now? It's 4 off lethal, I believe, with Deadly Poison Leroy.
It's not enough, so I would expect to see Leroy. Just Smork. I like this play a lot.
Just trying to close out the game right now. Again, it's going into turn 7, so it means Malagos has no option for Bone Mare or Lich King. A lot of the defensive options that he's really trying to hit. Doesn't even have Sun Fury here.
So now the Giant plus Spellstone is doing the job.
Yep.
But there's no heal left. There's Bone Mare next turn, but is it gonna be enough? That's the question. So now preparation was pretty big draw. The question is, do you play first the Shadow Blade plus Poison?
Just to get the maximum amount of cards.
You get max 10 cards, yeah. So
how does it work? He's already played Edwin, so he doesn't need to worry about leaving 3 mana for a huge Edwin. So yeah, I think I like this more. Like, there's probably not all too much you'd rather play than this.
Yeah. You can play Deckhand as well, so
yeah,
that's what Justin is hoping for. Or Dread Corsair can be developed. So
there we go. There's the deckhand. He's looking for Dread Corsair. I imagine he's looking for Greenskin as well. Faldori Strider to get all those spiders in the deck is not bad at all for a bit of longevity. This hand actually looks pretty good to me for a double raiding party, which is obviously awful. The rest of it still just looks pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the rest of it is pretty good. You can prep Seb the Giant if you want, or you can save it for the Taunt later, like when your opponent plays the Bone Mare or the 7/7.
I think I like that a bit more because you're going into turn 8, so the chances of a taunt coming down are very high in the form of Lich King or Bone Mare.
So face is the place, and yeah, one Taunt can be like the Bone Mare could be killed like after the Seb, so. And because if you Bone Mare something, you just sep it and kill your opponent with the weapon. That's probably exactly what Justin has in mind. So what could be done? Like, realistically, not that much. Like, the Ooze would kill the weapon.
Yeah. So if you go Ooze and Rubian Unraveler, that's very tempting because your opponent's probably going to have a fair few spells in hand. You've already seen Leroy. You've already seen a deckhand. So the amount of burst would probably be not that high.
Yeah, like you would die, for example, to Shadow Blade plus Agents.
Yes, or Eviscerate or any of that.
But yeah, with the Bone Mare, you are dead to Sap, and it's very likely to come down. So I would love to see Ooze plus Unraveler.
Yeah. And at that point, we can see Saiyan can't kill his opponent. He can do 4 damage maximum. And then he's really under pressure of just dying himself because he didn't go for the prep Sap last turn. Like you said, because if he did, the Bone Mare could have come down on this turn.
Yeah, I really like this play. It was pretty nice. And also, like, there's a threat with the Lethal, so because also the fatigue is taking place, so it's exact lethal threatening. So just saying, he's probably forced to play the Sap.
He has to Sap to survive, right? Because he could either Sap or he could go Shadow Blade down the Ooze is the other option. We can see he'd still die to Hellfire at that point, but he may just have to, and the Bone Mare, of course, obviously, but he may just have to pray that they're not there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, if you play Sap and Strider, you will get the 4/4 the turn after, but
yeah, they can't attack for a turn.
It might be, like, just too slow.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he's sensing the danger, though. Sapping to try and stay alive for a turn and launching the rest phase, praying that there is no taunt. And we can clearly see that Malagos has got that all-important answer through his beautiful sequencing last turn with the Ooze into the Nerubian and now with the Bone Mare. He's got himself probably a lockout victory in this game.
Yes, like, because there's no second Sep.
Yeah.
Very, very close game.
So unfortunate for saying, because this hand that I thought looked so fantastic from him, I guess the amount of pressure that Malagos was putting on him meant it was just all too slow.
Yeah, like he had a lot of resources for a longer game, but Malagos really nicely raised back. But also like the play he made with Unraveler plus Ooze instead of Bone Mare was really nice. Like
very good spot.
Many players would just close their eyes and then blaming RNG. Oh, they got a sap and there's nothing I could have done. But you can see there could be something done. So
that doesn't sound like Hearthstone players at all. I've got to be honest. Blaming RNG, that's just that doesn't sound right.
So yeah, realistically, I don't think anything else than Bone Mare could happen here.
Yeah, there's only really one play set up for Gul'dan next turn if by some miracle Saiyan manages to survive, but we can clearly see in what was a very nice favourable matchup for him and a good position for Saiyan at the start, he can't get the job done.
Yeah. We have to be honest, like Malagos had a really good draw. He had only one Doomster in his deck, and he was able to play turn 2 exactly when he needed before the Giant, and in the end he got a Ooze he needed, so yeah, he was a little bit lucky, but it was combined with perfect play, so well-deserved victory.
And I think to his credit, in the mid-game, his play was getting a little bit weaker. Like, he had no taunts from turns 5 until 8, so there was a lot of damage able to go face. And if, for example, he hadn't gone for the Hellfire on the Edwin Van Cleef board, maybe he starts to take a little bit too much damage. So I think, like you said, he had a pretty good draw, but overall sequenced his cards in the perfect way to get himself through to a victory. Getting a win with that even Warlock against an all-aggressive lineup, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like,